Well, we heard in the afternoon about Ganga and the descent of Ganga and glories of Ganga, now the glories of Himalayas. This is a little bit shorter. It's significantly shorter. Yet the midday discussion was very lengthy. Ganga is very prominent in this area, and lots of personalities connected with Ganga, etc. There's always this microphone problem. Okay. Well, an image that you saw before, slightly different, but this is the Char Dham idea. There's two Char Dhams. One of them is in Badrinath, way north, Dwarka on the west side, Jagannath Puri on the east side, and Rameshwara on the south side. 4 Char Dham. And because our topic is the Himalayas, let's focus on the Himalayas. It's in the Badrinath temple area, Uttarakhand, part of India. This is a very simple diagram of Mount Meru. It's an upside-down cone, or the corolla of a lotus that's narrow at the bottom and spreads a bit towards the upper portion. That's Mount Meru. And Mount Meru is resting upon Bhumandala, or Jambudweep. Somebody was asking, I believe the earth is flat. Do you believe the earth is flat? And I said, I gave a Sariputta answer. Sariputta's answer is both. A planisphere, that's Sariputta's, scientific language. You project something three-dimensional on a two-dimensional surface, it becomes two-dimensional. So what's above, project it down. The earth the Bhumandala is flat. But at the same time, the Bhagavatam describes the earth planet as gola, or round. So it's both. Depends on your perspective, how you look at it. So here's one way to look at it. There's Bharatvarsha. Now sometimes artists depict in Bharatvarsha, that's a tract of land. Varsha means tract of land. So they sometimes depict a little globe, the earth globe, resting on this flat thing, the Bhumandala, Bharatvarsha. And Bharatvarsha is on the southern side, or one side of these 7 mountain ranges. 3, and then on other sides. So it's 8. So Himalaya mountains, and on the one side of the Himalaya mountains, Bharatvarsha, along with other mountains. And here's a more detailed depiction. Don't get dizzy, it's very detailed. Surrounding Mount Meru, that golden inverted cone, there's 4 tall mountains. Mentioned in the upper left corner, there's the names, and then in the upper right corner, that's the height and width, and that's 80,000 miles. Have you seen a mountain that's 80,000 miles tall and wide? No. But those are mountains on Jambudweep. And then surrounding Mount Meru and those 4 tall mountains, there's other mountain ranges. The names are given. So there's 3, and there's 3, and then there's 2 on the other opposite sides. Many of you have heard Ganda Madana mountain. Maybe you've wondered where it is. Well, here's an illustration of where it is. and it's running perpendicular to these other mountain ranges. So Malyavan and Gandhamandana are perpendicular to these 3 and 3. And in between the 3, there's valleys or tracts of land or varshas. And many of you know, some of you may not know, there's a place where Hanuman resides. And where's that place? Kim Purusha Varsha. Where's Kim Purusha Varsha, please? It's one of the varshas, or in between ranges, on the opposite side of the Himalaya mountains. So on our side of the Himalaya mountains is Bharatvarsha, Varsha, tract of land. And Kim Purusha Varsha is where Hanuman resides. It's on the other side of the Himalaya mountain range. And then there's other mountain ranges in the perpendicular directions. And that's what the central island, the Jambudweep central island, broken up in different varshas, or tracts of land. So this is a depiction of Jambudweep, that's that circular region, and Mount Meru, Golden Mountain Meru in the center. No, because we're speaking about the Himalaya mountains, it's context sensitive. That's where the Himalaya mountains is, this mountain range in the bottom. I'll show you a little bit. Here's the laser pointer. There's the Himalayas running like this. And down here, this says Bharatvarsha. On the northern side of Bharatvarsha is Kim Purusha Varsha. And then other varshas or tracts of land. All those names are in the 5th canto Bhagavatam. So enough about maps. Here's something, a few statements Krishna makes. One is in Bhagavad Gita, the other is in Uddhava Gita. In the Opulences of the Absolute, or Vibhuti Yoga, chapter 10, of great sages I am Bhrigu, of vibrations I am the transcendental Om, of sacrifices I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa, and of immovable things, Himalayas. And then, in Uddhava Gita, Canto 11, among residences I am Mount Sumeru. That's Mount Meru and Mount Sumeru are synonymous. And of impervious places I am the Himalayas. Among trees I am the holy fig tree, and among plants I am those that bear grains. Uddhava Gita. And who are those celebrated personalities that reside in the Himalayas? Well, 2 very important personalities, Narayan. They're in a particular region of the Himalayas, the Bandarika region. And there they are, the 2 twins, Nara and Narayana, and they're being worshipped here by Markandeya. Lord Shiva has a principal residence in the Himalayas. He lives under a tree in the snow of the Himalaya mountains. He does not even construct a house for himself, but still his worshippers are rich. Somehow. And here's a classic, many people have this poster in their home. It's just a poster depicting what Sri Brahma Samhita says about the structure of the universe. Those of you that know the verse, you can say it with me. Goloka namni nijadamni tale chatasya Devi Mahesha Haridamasu Teshu Teshu Te Te Prabhava Nihitaschayena Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Krishna resides in Goloka. It's Nija Damni, it's his own Dham. Nija Damni Tale Cha Tasya. Devi Dham, above Devi Dham is Mahesh Dham, the abode of Mahesh. And above Mahesh Dham is Hari Dham, and above the Hari Dham is Goloka Dham. So that's verse is depicting where Goloka is, and in this Devi Dham region, there's what they say, some people say, there's Mount Kailash. But that's a photograph of what many people call Mount Kailash, but Mount Kailash is above Devi Dham. So a little note, it just doesn't tally with Shastric information, but there's a picture, what they say, that's Mount Kailash. And residence also is Vyasadeva, and another region of Badrikashram, Samya Prasa. This is where Narada paid him a visit. Vyasa, as you know, by this painting, he's writing, compiling the Vedas into 4 divisions, etc. And that's where he resides. There's a cave, if you're a tourist, and you visit Badrinath, you'll most likely see the cave, where some people at least say that that's where he stayed when he was compiling the Vedas. Who knows, but that's what they say. And there was some discussion, so I did a little research and found the answer to the question. Are Himavati and Parvati the same? Or is there a distinction or the same? And there's the same. They're synonymous. Because she, when Sati, because we heard this whole class on Sati's, the immolation, and the soul left the body, and the soul entered into the womb of Himavan's wife. And I forgot to put her name. I've forgotten what her name is. But there he is sitting on top of a mountain, Himavan. So the Vedas have some very interesting things to say. And one of the interesting things the Vedas have to say, there's many interesting things. One of them is found in Ramayana. It's also in the Bhagavatam, that once upon a time mountains had wings. Did you know that? Mountains had wings? And, they were causing, some demigods considered a disturbance. Mountains flying around, come on. So they went to Indra, do something. You're our king. You're the king of the demigods. So he got his thunderbolt weapon and he was cutting their wings. So mountains couldn't fly anymore. And there was one mountain that took shelter of Vayu. Vayu protected. He blew the mountain into the sea. He protected him. So he, the mountain, wanted to express his gratitude to Vayu for the kindness of saving him from Indra's thunderbolt. So he became one of the first obstacles of Hanuman crossing the sea to get to Lanka, and the mountain came out of the sea with his wings and everything. And so there's history that mountains had wings, but here's at least a graphic description or depiction of Himavan. So Sati took shelter of the womb of Himavan's wife and accepted Himavan as her father, and I've forgotten the wife's name. And so Parvati is from the mountain, Himavati is from the sun, or is for the daughter of Himavan is Himavati. So they're just different names for the same situation, same person, the next birth of Sati. So important feature of the Himalayas. Uddhava, many of you know, this is a painting of Uddhava approaching Krishna in Dwarka. Uddhava, like Arjuna, was a very dear devotee of Krishna. In one sense, one might say, even more intimate than Arjuna, because intimate in the sense, at least, that he was with Krishna all the time. From the time that Krishna left Vrindavan till the time that Krishna left the world, in Mathura and in Dwarka, Uddhava was with Krishna all the time, like all the time. And Uddhava was very wise. He acted not only as a friend, but sometimes he acted as a counselor. He would advise Krishna when Krishna wanted advice. Now, Krishna doesn't need anybody's advice, but he would ask Uddhava for his advice, because that was a service that he was giving him to do, because he was wise. He was so intimate with Krishna that he knew Krishna's going to leave. Krishna didn't say, but he knew. So this is privately in Dwarka. He approached Krishna, placed his head on his feet, and was pleading with Krishna, please take me with you. Didn't say, please don't go. Please take me with you, because you're going to go. Take me with you. And the whole Uddhava Gita flowed from that discussion. And in the end, again, the question, take me with you. Instead, Krishna gave him some service to do, so he couldn't go with him. The service was, I appeared in this world to give my association to my devotees. One set of devotees I didn't give association to was Narayan Rishi and the devotees in Badrikashram. So the service I'm giving you is, you go to Badrikashram, and as my representative, you give my association to them, carry the following messages, X, Y, Z. Uddhava didn't want to do that. He wanted to go with Krishna. But he didn't say that, because he wanted to be obedient. But he was very attached to Krishna. And Krishna left. And Uddhava left. And eventually he ended up in Badrikashram, as Krishna wanted him to be. Another celebrated sage, Markandeya Rishi, he lives on the northern side of the Himalaya mountains, according to the description of the Bhagavatam. Now, the northern side of the Himalaya mountains sounds like it's just before the Kimpurusha area, because Kimpurusha area is the tract of land between the Himalayas and the next. But he's still in the mountains, the northern side of the mountains. And you see in the background, there's the mountains. Then in the Himalayas, there's this celebrated place where there's a peak of gold. And it is said that this king, Maharaj Marut, received this mountain as a gift from Lord Vishnu. The backstory, the story behind it is, he wanted very much to please the personality of Godhead. So with the assistance of Brahmanas, he did this very special yajna called Sankara Yajna. And he performed the yajna. Vishnu was very pleased, and as a gift, he gave him this mountain made of gold. So King or Maharaj Marut was all set up. He did major yagyas, and in performance of those yagyas, because he had the wealth to do it, he made gifts to the visitors and to the brahmanas, and he was a popular guy because he had sources of gold, a big mountain worth of gold. And Yudhisthira and the Pandavas at a certain point of time, in preparing for a war, because they didn't have a treasury, because they weren't in the seat of power, so they, Yudhisthira and the other Pandavas, at Yudhishthira's indication, they decided to make a pilgrimage to the mountains and find this peak of gold so they could have sufficient wealth to conduct a war when it became clear that a war was inevitable. So the peak of gold in the Himalayas. Then in the 5th canto, there's another description of a yagya that was performed by Maharaj Nabhi and his good wife Meru Devi. He ruled for some large number, 27,000 years, something like that. He was very long-lived and very capable. And he ruled very generously and very magnanimously and very wisely. And at a certain stage, he wanted to leave the rulership, so he turned the kingdom over to his son and went to the Badrik ashram. It's a nice place to go to perform austerities, and engaged brahmanas in assisting him with a yagya so that he could have a son, and Meru Devi also. And that son became Rishabdev. That's the section of the Bhagavatam. So it's specifically not only the Himalayas, but Badrik ashram, where this yagya was done, in the vicinity where Narayan are, and their deity form is worshipped. Important. So besides personalities, there's important events, and some of you are familiar with the fact that history that's recounted in the Srimad Bhagavatam and history that's reported in Mahabharata don't always match. And this is one of those cases. In Mahabharata, they went to the Himalayas. First of all, there's a little background. According to the Mahabharata, Bhima had already departed. He was intelligent, but he wasn't like Yudhisthira, where he was leading the other brothers. He just left because he knew, after Krishna left, that's it. And so he left. And in consultation with Vyasadeva, Yudhisthira, and the rest of the Pandavas, and according to Mahabharata, as you see, Draupadi, she also went with them. So the remaining 4 brothers and Draupadi climbing through the mountains, the Mahaprasthana, their final journey. And at a certain point, this narration, Yudhisthira didn't instruct, but he advised Arjuna, you have so many celestial weapons. We don't need those anymore. These celestial weapons was needed for the Kurukshetra battle and dealing with, the enemies and, people who were usurping and offending and killing and stuff. So we don't need them anymore. Leave them. So not only he left them, but he dropped them in water. So he couldn't go back and get them, and they couldn't go. So others wouldn't get them. It doesn't say where the water was. And Bhima, having already left his body, it was just the 4 brothers and Draupadi and their last journey. Now, how the journey ends, I'm not familiar with in Mahabharata, but that was their final journey. In the Bhagavatam, the narration is different, but that's okay. In the Bhagavatam, Yudhisthira, being so wise, he understood Krishna's gone, Kali Yuga is coming, it's going to get bad and worse. So without saying anything to his brothers, without saying anything to Draupadi, he packed up and left. Now, the section of the Bhagavatam, I'm quite familiar with this because one of the times when Srila Prabhupada was visiting in New York, the artist had just finished painting the painting of Maharaj Ambarish heading for the North Country with the mountains in the background and his saffron cloth and his danda. And Prabhupada commented when they showed him the painting, Kshatriyas don't take the order of sannyas. But it's okay, you can leave the painting. They didn't have to wipe out the danda. So it's still there in the BBT publication. But he renounced the world. He left everything behind. And then, according to the Bhagavatam, Draupadi was, now without Yudhisthira, and she knew the other Pandavas are soon going to depart as well. And so she decided what she was going to do, because, they didn't abandon her, but there was, a kind of renunciation, and she was wise, and she knew what to do, and she also did much like what they did. She got together with Subhadra, and together they engaged in very intense meditation, according suitable for a lady's activities, and knowing that they would also join where their husbands went. So the Mahabharata describes their destination was heaven. The Bhagavatam describes their destination was the spiritual world. There's differences. In the Himalayas, this is a place where Jayadrath, in his get back at Arjuna particularly, he underwent severe austerities, and it was in the Himalayas, at Gangotri. Lord Gangotri is where the Ganga comes out of the Himalaya mountains. So that's where he did his austerities, in the Himalayas, to get some benediction from Lord Shiva, which is the get back at Arjuna benediction. Another detail in relation to the Himalayas is Shukadev Goswami, according to the Bhagavatam, was born in Kimpurusha Varsha, which is a little, I don't exactly understand it, because he was the son of Vyasadeva. That means Vyasadeva was in Kimpurusha Varsha. But Vyasadeva wasn't in Kimpurusha Varsha. But in any case, so I don't know how to sort it out, so don't ask me. This description is, he was born, he came across the Himalaya mountains and ended up in Varsha. And that's where we hear him speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. Another personality is Kapila Dev or Kapila Muni. And there's his father, and he is having conversation with his father. After the conversation was completed, Kapila Dev went to the Himalayas, following the course of the Ganges. And he, for some time, if you remember, I'm sure you remember, there was one of the names, as one of the ashrams where Kapila had done his austerities and meditations and so on in the Himalayas. So that's one of the places where he stayed. He didn't permanently stay there, but he was there for some time. Then another example was Dhruva Maharaj, and of course his kingdom wasn't in the Himalayas, but his step-brother Uttama was killed by the Yakshas in the Himalayas. So Dhruva went all the way to the Himalayas to punish those who killed his brother. And he was on, rampage. So much so that Swayambhuva Manu had to come and tap him on the shoulder and said, Dhruva, cool out. You can't go kill all the yakshas because one yaksha killed your stepbrother. You let him be punished, but not everybody, please. So just with that word, Dhruva stopped. But he had gone to the Himalayas to take care of the yakshas. Later, after this event and towards the end of his life, Dhruva retired to the forest in the Himalayas. Again, Badrik Ashram, very popular place. And another person who went to this area, or a little proximate area, was Muchukunda. Now you all know who is Muchukunda. Is there anybody here who doesn't know who is Muchukunda? Okay, Muchukunda. Muchukunda was a devotee, and he was a great warrior. And he was such a great warrior that the demigods requested, help! The demons are attacking and they're overwhelming us, help! So Muchukunda said, sure. And great fighter, he protected the demigods and sent the demons that were attacking the demigods to the abode of death, or they just departed because he was too fierce of a fighter. And the demigods then said to Muchukunda, thanks. We'd like to give you a token of our appreciation for how you saved us. Tell us that's something that you would like. He said, okay, I'd like to sleep. I've been fighting for such a long day after no sleep, and I'd like to be able to go someplace where it's quiet and peaceful and not be woken up. And they said, sure. And if anybody wakes me up, what you see in the painting, if they wake me up before I wake up naturally, then by seeing that person, they'll become ashes. They'll be burned into fire or burned into ashes. So that's what happened. He's in a cave, not far from where Krishna was engaged in Mathura. And so it's detail. Kalyavana teamed up with Jarasandha, one from the north. Kalyava was from the north country. Jarasandha was from Magadha, the east country. And they came from two different directions to do battle to destroy Krishna in Mathura. And so Krishna decided, let me give Muchukunda some service. Muchukunda's in a cave, snoring away, happy, to have all the rest he wanted. So Krishna ran from the battlefield as if he was afraid, looking over his shoulder. Muchukunda, oh, stop, you coward, and, running faster, Krishna ran faster. He couldn't catch Krishna. Krishna ran right into the cave. Because Krishna knew where Muchukunda was asleep. And when Kalyavana saw someone sleeping in the cave, he kicked them. Get up! Fight! It's Muchukunda. And when Muchukunda saw Kalyavana, this is what happened. He instantly burst into flames. So Krishna didn't have to do, he just gave Muchukunda some service. And then there was some discussion because Muchukunda was a devotee. He wasn't just a great warrior hero, he was a devotee. When he saw Krishna, it was like, wow. I mean, he didn't understand right away, but in quick order he understood, offered prayers. And his life is now fulfilled, having seen Krishna, the Lord of his life. Now, what's not often heard is what happened after that. So what happened after that is Mushakunda went to the Himalayas, or even specifically, we saw the mountain range, remember? That nice little map. Gandha Madana Mountain. Remember Gandha Madana? There's the 3 and 3, and then the 2 on either side. Gandha Madana was one of the ones on the side. So there he is. I mean, this is an artist depiction. He's climbing Gandha Madana Mountain and the northern range of the Himalayas. And he ended up in Badrik Ashram and engaged himself in the worship of a deity, or rather, the worship of Narayan, a form of Krishna. Nara, meaning man, and Narayana, but in 2 forms. So he worshipped and left the world in that way. Another example is Prithu. Now, for your information, we're only halfway through. So Prithu is a empowered personality. He's an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, empowered to rule. So Prithu was chasing the earth because the earth was disguising herself as a cow, but he knew this was doing mischief. And so the mountains transformed into the Himalayas. The mountains transformed the Himalayas into a calf. And they milked the calf. And from the calf came a variety of minerals. And with the minerals put into a pot, they made peaks of hills. So this is all a pastime. There's details and details to get all the details so it's like crystal clear. That's a class unto itself. But Prithu was involved in going to this area where the Himalayas are and in maintaining peace and order as kings are supposed to do. A very important event for us, the followers of Lord Chaitanya in the line of Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya twice made visits to Vyasadev's ashram in Badrik Ashram. And one was he had a Bhagavad Gita commentary. He wanted certification or verification that he had done it properly from Vyas. And then the second visit was the Brahma Sutras or Vedanta Sutra and his commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Madhvacharya wanted certification or verification that he had done it properly. And Vyas was very happy with him. So the spiritual master of Madhvacharya is Vyasadeva, and they met at Badrik Ashram, actually in Upper Badri. Now, the Himalayas are so important. There are many, many, many references to the Himalayas in one way by comparison. Some of you may be familiar, some of you may not be familiar. There was a situation where this demon you see over there on the left side holding this trident and looking very menacingly, his name is Vritrasura, and there's a whole long story, but Vritrasura became an enemy of Indra. Vritrasura was created by a mantra pronounced incorrectly. It's a long story, but if you don't pronounce Karmakanda Yagya mantras correctly, you can get the opposite result. So you better know your mantras. Instead of creating an enemy, this is Twashta, instead of creating an enemy that Indra would kill, he created an enemy that it would be killed by Indra. No, excuse me, the other way around. Rather than an enemy that would be killed by Indra, and he became Indra's enemy. Now, he was killed by Indra eventually, but here's a depiction where Vitrasra was such a big guy. Now, look how small the elephant looks in relation to Vitrasra. Vitrasra is humongous. Because the elephant of Indra is also very large, but looks like a toy. So, Vitrasra was like, as if he was the Himalayas himself, walking about, crushing the surface of the earth, to give an indication how big, how powerful was Vitrasra. And here is a depiction. Eventually, Indra, with his thunderbolt, he killed Vitrasra. And that was the way it was supposed to happen. That's how it happened. In the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, there's a whole chapter dedicated to Avanti Brahmana. And the Avanti Brahmana was, as you see in the painting, people didn't understand, some children, and some people didn't understand him, and so they teased him and tormented him and, treated him like an animal. Here's the depiction as he's in chains and, taunting and so forth. Some would ridicule Avanti Brahmana by saying, just see this greatly powerful sage. He is as steadfast as the Himalaya mountains. Because no matter what they did, he was not disturbed. Because he was a fully realized person, that this taunting of children didn't bother him at all. Not at all. There's reference in Chaitanya Charitamrita when Lord Chaitanya was dancing in front of Lord Jagannath at Rath Yatra. His body appeared like a transcendental Himalayan mountain bearing ecstatic emotional flower trees, all of them blooming. Means that his hairs were standing on end as if a flowering tree having stems and flowers coming on the end of the stems. Here's a description about Mother Yashoda. My dear Mukunda, if Mother Yashoda is Krishna's mother, if Mother Yashoda, Queen of Gokula, is forced to stand on fire, but is allowed to see your lotus face, then this fire will appear to her like the Himalaya mountains full of ice. She won't mind it at all, in other words, a mountain of fire, because she's absorbed in her thoughts of Krishna and seeing Krishna's face. These are just metaphors, poetic descriptions. Here's one. This is, the scene is Rukmini is in a really difficult situation. Her brother wants her to marry Shishupal. In no way is she going to marry Shishupal. But her brother's very, powerful and persistent, and he's the elder brother. So by culture, it's hard to go against what the elder brother says, but she can't go along with what he says. So she's contemplating why and what to do. And she's thinking, this is her thoughts described in Krishna book, she was thinking of the goddess Durga. She was thinking of Durga as the daughter of the Himalayan mountains, or Himavati, or Girija. Another name of Himavati and Parvati is Girija. The Himalayan mountains are very cold and hard. She thought Goddess Durga is hard-hearted and cold. Because there's an obstacle for her to marry the man she wants to marry, Krishna. And instead, Shishupal, forget it. So she's in this very intense meditation upon Krishna state. And her, she's something like a mad woman. She's thinking mad woman thoughts. But it's all centered on Krishna. So she's not at all mad. She's just experiencing ecstatic emotions. And separation or obstacle for meeting Krishna or marrying Krishna. Now, how does Govardhan coming to Vraja have anything to do with the Himalayas? It's a nice story. It's a very nice story. The common story that's narrated is there was a rishi named Palastya, and Palastya was traveling here and there. He's from Kashi, where it's flat, there's no mountains, and he went to Vindhya Hills. It's a mountain range in south central India. And he saw this very, very special mountain. He became attracted to the special mountain, and he wanted to take this mountain, Giriraj, with him, or Govardhan Hill, with him back to Kashi, so he could have him in this nice, peaceful, beautiful mountain place back in his home. So he picked up the hill. Krishna picked up the hill, but he picked up the hill also, Palastya. And the agreement between Palastya and Govardhan was, I'll go with you, but wherever you set me down, that's it. I'm not going any further. She said, no problem. There was a problem. There's always a problem. And the problem was, he had to answer the call of nature. When nature calls, you don't say no. So he set Govardhan Hill down, just over Vrindavan. And then when he returned, Govardhan said, that's it, I'm not going anywhere. You gave your word. And so Palastya figured it out. You just wanted to come to this place because Krishna is going to appear after some time, and you want his association. I curse you. You'll shrink. So anyway, so that's the common story. It's Bhavishya Purana history of how Govardhan came from the Vindhya Hills to Vrindavan. But there's another narration, and it's very interesting. Govardhan was brought to Vrindavan from the Himalayas. Really? Here's the history. There was a point in time when the Vanaras, the monkey warriors, were building a bridge to go to Lanka so they could march across the bridge and get to Lanka. And Hanuman had gone all the way to the Himalayas in order to gather some very wonderful mountains. He saw this fantastic mountain. So he picked up this fantastic mountain and started flying in the air to the place where they're building the bridge. But he heard a voice from the sky, no more mountains. The bridge has been completed. Thank you very much. So he was disappointed. But he wanted to be with the service to Ramachandra, so he set the mountain down in Vrindavan. From the Himalayas, which is north, heading in a southerly direction, as he was passing over Vrindavan, no need for mountains anymore. So he said, Govardhan, in this narration, has its origin in the Himalaya mountains. Kijai. Hanuman carrying Govardhan Hill. It's interesting. So I'm not going to go through this. This is a depiction of where all the places are along the banks of Govardhan Hill. It would be incomplete to discuss the Himalaya mountains without these two, Adi Badri and Kedarnath. And they exist, according to the Brijbasis, they exist in Vrindavan also. The Adi Badri in Braja is pictured here. You can walk up a flight of stairs. It looks like you're going up to one of the temples in Badrinath. There's a Kedarnath place in Vrindavan. At least they name like this. And Srila Prabhupada's comment very quickly is the impersonalists, they particularly like these places of austerity, and the devotees like them too, but the devotees like especially Vrindavan. So less important than Himalayas is Vrindavan. And it looks like I made it into that photograph. Here's further. Ekadanda Swamis or Sannyasis, they're found in the Himalayas. This is Prabhupada's. But the Vaishnava Sannyasis are found of Vrindavan and Puri. So on the left side, that's Prabhupada's sannyas. So he's a Tridandi, and then there's the Ekadandi, the impersonalist, there's Shankaracharya. And it's true, they like very much these places. And this is our last photograph. It's a superimposed image of Prabhupada, and in the background is the Himalaya mountains. You're still here. Thank you all for coming. I mean, I've been informed there are persons, from Houston that went somewhere else because, it's a vacation time. It's a little bit, it's not the same, but it's a little bit like for the Chinese devotees, there's a national holiday. This is a national holiday in America. And they don't like going, some of them like, but many people, they do family stuff or the vacation stuff or the stuff because it's a holiday. So when we have gatherings that instead of going the holiday thing, they come to the yatras, the attendance isn't strong. And looking around the room, I'm just observing. I think there'd be a bigger attendance if it was Thanksgiving weekend. But at the same time, it's a good time. How else are we going to have 4 classes a day times 4 days? Not possible. So school kids, no school. Working people, no work. And go off on vacation. Go see family and friends and whatever else people do on holidays. They go for a holiday, take a break. This is a transcendental break. And thank you for being here. Any comments or questions? It's 6 o'clock. We have till 6:30. Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, thank you for the class. Mount Meru, I always have question on Mount Meru. It's like a spiritual mountain.
No, it's a golden mountain.
No, my question is like when we look at the map, we see the Himalayas.
Yeah.
And Mount Meru, we can't see.
No, I haven't seen it. Have you?
No.
No. How do you see Mount Meru if you're just an ordinary fellow like you and me? How do you see Mount Meru? Well, you have to have spiritual qualification. Because there's some persons that have spiritual qualification and they describe it. It's not fiction. It's not metaphorical language. It's a place. Now, if you like that topic, I'll invite you or recommend you to go to the Bhaktivedanta Institute for Higher Education based in Gainesville, and they conduct seminars on this stuff all the time. And it's kind of mind-bending because they're very learned persons, and some of us aren't as very learned as they are. But the discussions are made not like made dumb, but simple enough but elevated enough so you're stretching a little bit to reach what their messages are. And I haven't been attending because I'm busy doing stuff like this, but I have an interest, and they send me, recordings, and I listen sometimes to recordings because I sometimes have some time, and it's intelligible. It's certainly very interesting, and they're very good at responding to questions and interactive things.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Two questions. First one, Kailash. You explained Kailash the way it's shown in scriptures, and the Kailash which we've heard of and is whatever people talk about, the mountain is not actually per Vedic scripture the Kailash, right? That's something completely new to me. Yeah, completely.
Something like that, yeah. So now, what's your question?
That's okay. That's just. I was
verifying what I said, and yes, you got it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. But I was shocked, because there was so much of talk about the Kailash and go to Kailash and all that, that particular mountain which we see. Okay, so that was number one, and I can see how important it is to validate with Vedic. That's me.
Second question.
So, yeah. Second one is earlier one where we talked about the glories of Ganga. And one of the pastimes you shared was of Advaita Acharya going in the bank of Ganges, calling out to with the Tulsi and calling out to Mahaprabhu to descend. So we know part of that pastimes when Srila Prabhupada, before he boarded on to Jaladuta, he went there and prayed incessantly.
Yes.
So when Prabhupada went there, that was just a spontaneous going to that particular place for Advaita Acharya, or it was like he had a worldwide mission to spread, so he...
Well, Prabhupada was not shy to seek blessings. He knew Mission Impossible. And it wasn't false humility, it's just Mission Impossible. And to do Mission Impossible, I need some strength beyond my strength. So he went to qualified persons, many, and made such a petition, feeling, please give your blessings, feeling helpless. Without their blessings, failure. Or with their blessings, possible. Mission Impossible becomes possible. So that's the mood.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So one of my questions, who are like Nara, Narayan, Rishi?
Who are they?
Yes.
We're going to have a whole class on Narayan, Rishi.
Okay.
Stay tuned. Because, it'd be incomplete to say something in 3 minutes or 5 minutes when it's going to be an hour and a half, or an hour at least.
Okay. And also like...
Here, to keep it really simple,
okay.
simple. Krishna and Arjun are Nara Narayan. Nara Narayan are Krishna and Arjun. So, if you want to understand who are Nara Narayan, think of Krishna and Arjun. Okay?
Yes. And then another question I have is based off of the slide where we have the Meru Parvat and all the different structure of the universe.
Yes.
Picture, and there is a section like Bharatvarsha,
Yes.
and then there's the Himalayas. So
Yes.
we are in Bharatvarsha?
Yes.
Okay, and then we can see the Himalayas. So are the Himalayas part of the Bharatvarsha?
They're part of Jambu Dweep, which is that central island upon which Mount Meru or Sumeru rests. It's part of Jambu Dweep, the central island. And then there's rings of, oceans and rings of land or islands surrounding Jambu Dweep. but with names and the diameters and the types of oceans in between oceans, and it's very involved. But there's a central island, Jambudweep. So Bhumandala is part of that central island. Now I mentioned, and I'll say it again, sometimes I've seen artistic drawings where Varsha is flat, as Varsha, like a valley in between two mountain ranges. It's not exactly flat, but relative to the mountain range, it's flat. And they sometimes depict a little globe, like the Earth planet, globe, resting on top of that little area. That's an artist's, creation. It's not exactly what it looked like. It's just it's their way of telling the viewer, guess what? Earth planet is in this Bharat-Varsha region. Bharat-Varsha is the region of the Earth planet. Varsha, tract of land.
So is Bharatavarsha in Jambudvipa or Jambudvipa? Like is Jambudvipa in Bharatavarsha or Bharatavarsha is
No,
in
Jambudweep
Jambudvipa?
is that's. Let's go back to the picture.
Can you go to that?
That circular, or now because it's from an angle, it looks like a little bit of an oval, not exactly circular. That's Jambudweep. Mount Sumeru is mounted on top of Mount Meru or Mount Sumeru at the center of Jambudweep, that central island. And then, it doesn't go outward horizontally, but there's water or some kind of liquid, an ocean of some kind surrounding Jambudweep. And then there's another island that has rings. We don't find islands that are shaped like that. So what is it? Read Sadhaputa's books and get ready to have your mind very flexible and understand something that you can't understand. He does lots of things. One of the things that he does, like there's options, is the stereographic projection of the universe. What's the stereographic projection? It's something that's three-dimensional becomes two-dimensional. And that's his way of explaining. And he's a genius. My opinion, he's a genius. He's describing in language that, ordinary folks that aren't geniuses can understand. What is this Jambudweep thing? And these circular islands, come on, with rings of oceans in between and then the next circular island. Who's seen a circular island, please? Where is there such a thing?
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
To some extent, one can say metaphorical, or it's a depiction. It's a two-dimensional depiction of something that's three-dimensional. It's not easy. Okay, someone else. Yes? No? No.
Hare Krishna, Good Maharaj. So my question was, in one of the slides you said that Govardhan was Hanuman bring Govardhan to Vrindavan, but then in another class, one Mataji said that Govardhan was there because Radharani wanted Govardhan there. So did Govardhan come before Krishna was born in Vrindavan or after?
Before. When Krishna was born, Govardhan was there. It's not that Krishna was born and Govardhan parachuted in. Govardhan was there. It was before. Now, what one Mataji said, I can't verify what her source was. It sounds, little on the Rasika side. And is there, for those who are in such a realm of understanding things according to rasa, then it's like anything goes. Then who's the authority that she's quoting? And what's the authority that person who she's quoting is quoting from? I've been practicing devotional service for a couple of years, and I've learned that those are important questions to ask. Scriptural authority, please. There's a nice verse that Prabhupada would refer to. Shruti smriti puranadi pancha triki vidhimbina aikuntiki harer bhaktir utpatayaiva kalpate, which means when you speak something, it should be from the Vedas. Shruti, smriti, puranas, itihasas, etc. And those statements that don't come from such sources, they're a disturbance. Utpat. Big disturbance. So when you hear this story, that story, and this is not just you, just all of us, in a not a challenging, confrontational manner, but it's a good idea to ask the question. What's the scriptural authority for that, please? And then it goes a little bit further. There are some personalities who are our great acharyas. They describe things that are not commonly described. But they don't pull something out of the air and say, the air is reality and the reality is air. They don't do that. They have scriptural authority. But then it takes a learned person to know what's behind the statement of Rupa Goswami when it describes things that we don't read in the Bhagavatam. He's not pulling stuff out of the air. It's not Rupa Goswami. It's not his program. So then it takes time and patience and perseverance, and slowly, something that's not understood can perhaps be understood. Perhaps. Okay? I heard what Mataji said. Ask Mataji, politely, what do you know the scriptural authority for that? That would be very kind of you to because otherwise, it just goes, don't hold on to it. Let it go. There's no scriptural. Or you can put it in your I call it parking lot. Maybe there's some scriptural authority that Mataji doesn't know, but there is one. But you don't put it in your, the active list. You put it in the parking lot. Maybe, maybe not. And some things just go in the trash, not just the parking lot. Okay, look at this. It looks like it's time to end. Is it time to end? I think it's time to end. Srila Prabhupada ki